Welcome to another Raid Summon Legends video, guys. We have the fusion that started today, and tomorrow we're gonna have a Summon Rush event. Now, usually when we have Summon Rush events, we tend to have a 10x next to it. Of course, this weekend won't be any different whatsoever. It is the Halloween weekend, I would say, so I personally expected to see some sort of special events, maybe a couple of them, something different, something to kind of like be in the theme with the spirit of Halloween, you know. Right here we have the Summon Rush starting tomorrow. I'm not sure what rewards we're gonna get from there just yet, but of course, to complete the Timot, the full fusion, guys, Fragment event, you're going to need to participate in both of the summoning events, the Summon Rush, the Champion Chase tournament. For tomorrow, most probably, I will recommend you to use, if you have, of course, Sacreds and Primal Shards, because they give you the biggest amount of points. If you have some Voids, maybe that as well. Now, let me just quickly walk you through the list of what champions we have on the 10x. Normally, I wouldn't recommend you at all to open on a 10x event, because you know what? The chances to summon legendaries or whatever are still miserable, and the chance to get the desired champion from the 10x list is astronomical, okay? So I just want to emphasize that before we move over to the main thing. We're going to have a 10x on no one else but Batar, the new Void legendary that was added to the game today. It looks pretty cool as a design champion, and overall the kit is not bad. Much better than this Tagar, the conjoined trash right here. Pardon my French, I just hate the champion with passion because I summoned him last weekend. So Batar right here, guys, with A1 attacks an enemy, has a chance to decrease the cooldown of a random skill of the ally with the highest turn meter, except this champion. That's actually pretty nice. Fully booked will be a 50% chance. The A2 attacks all enemies, places an increased attack and an increased defense buff on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown fully booked, and heals all allies by 20% of this champion's HP. Now, he's an HP based champion. His base HP for a Void legendary is not that wow, you know? It's still decent at 22k though. Then you have the A3, which is the Mercy of the Oasis. Is a revive skill on a 4-turn cooldown. Revives all that allies with 50% HP and 50% turn meter, then places a shield buff on all revived allies for 2 turns, equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. So having the revive with the shield is pretty nice. I would dream about having something better on this skill to really make him feel like that Void legendary when we're talking about revivers, you know? Maybe an increased defense, maybe a strength, and maybe something to help your team a bit more next to that shield, you know? So a couple of things on top of it would be nice. Then we have the passive. Has a 50% chance of decreasing all of an ally's skills cooldown by 1 turn whenever they are revived. So this will be a 70% chance fully booked, and was confirmed by Plarium. It will work for every single ally that gets revived. So it's not just for one random ally, it's for the entire team. So if everybody's dead and you revive them, they all have a chance to get the cooldown decreased. HP aura for all battles. I would say he's a decent champion, you know, he's a pretty decent one. I don't think he's wow for a Void legendary, not at all actually. And I feel like the partner for the fusion is maybe more interesting. I feel like that champion, the Timot, the full partner, is more interesting. So I feel like maybe he shouldn't be a Void legendary. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I feel like I'm so picky nowadays with heroes, man. It's just crazy. Then we're gonna have a 10x on no one else but Raqqa. Pretty good champion, not the most busted reviver in the game, but she's actually fairly interesting. Attacks one enemy, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of this champion's max HP. Removes all debuffs from all allies, then places an increased attack and a shield buff based on of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns, which is pretty good. Then you have revives all dead allies with 50% HP, 50% turn meter, places a block debuffs buff on all allies. So again, they're very similar, these two last revivers that we actually talked about, but I do prefer her over the other one. Mainly is for the passive and the speed aura, I think. So at the start of each turn, fills the turn meter of all allies by 10%. At the start of each turn, places a shield 15% continuous heal buff on the ally with the lowest HP for 2 turns, will not place it on this champion. And of course, 19% speed aura in all battles. I don't think they're the best Void Legendaries, how I mentioned. They're decent-ish. And I personally won't open any Void Shards in the Summon Rush. Not like I have any anyway, but just saying it, you know. And moving over to the next champion, which is not a Void Legendary anymore, guys, is going to be no one else but Mighty Uko. So, Mighty Uko was a pass fusion, pretty strong champion, decent for Hydra, pretty strong for Arena. With the A1, you have a chance to land AoE decrease attack. The A2 attacks all enemies, places block buffs, decrease accuracy if they have no buffs after the attack. But of course, with each one of the hit, you have a chance to remove 2 random buffs from the target. Then you have the A3, revives all dead allies with 40% HP and places a block damage on them for 1 turn. And of course, you can place increased speed on all allies, even if you don't need to revive, you know. And you have the passive, which has a chance to steal a random buff from an enemy whenever they get a buff. This is actually pretty nasty. Pretty nasty as a passive. Speed aura for all battles, 20%. I wouldn't mind a couple of more Mighty Ukos just to push them in my main one to empower Uko, you know. The next champion that we have on the list, guys, is going to be no one else but Pyon. Again, a previous fusion. Pretty strong reviver too. So this is a reviver team, sort of a 10x, guys. And yeah, I wouldn't mind Pyon either to empower my other one. I'm not really using Pyon a lot, but it's definitely a pretty viable option for Arena. You know, it's a strong one, pretty viable for Hydra, pretty viable for most of the PvE content. So definitely Pyon, not a bad champion either. A good fusion. Attacks one enemy 2 times, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5%. Then removes all debuffs from all allies, then heals them by 10% of their max HP, heals each ally by an extra 5% of their max HP for each debuff removed from them, and places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns, revives all dead allies with 50% HP, and Thermitter then places a strengthened buff on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown, and the passive, allies receive 5% less damage from skills for each buff on them, stacking up to 25% damage reduction, resistance aura for all battles. Moving over to epics, guys, Ursula the Mourner is on the list as well. One of the best epic revivers in the entire game. With the A1, has a chance to decrease the target's stun meter. With the A2, puts increased attack on your team and decrease attack on all the enemies. Then you have the revive skill, revives all dead allies with 75% HP, fills their turn meter by 50%, places an increased defense and a strengthen buff on all allies for 3 turns. On a 5-turn cooldown. This can work as well if all your allies are alive, for example. Speed aura for Doom Tower battles. The next champion that we have on the list, guys, is going to be no one else but Ugo. Not necessarily the easiest reviver to use in the game. With the A1, a chance to land Leech. The A2, defense down and block buffs. Massive for a Hydra clan boss. Then you have the A3. Removes all heal reduction debuffs from all allies, then removes a random debuff from them and gives them a bit of a healing. If all allies are dead, revives them with 50% HP, then fills their turn meter by 50% instead. But for that, you need to keep Mighty Uko alive to be the last man standing, basically. Places increased speed and block damage on this champion for 1 turn whenever this champion's last living ally is killed. Just so you guys are aware of that. Then, of course, we have no one else but Mr. Gorgorab. This is the old Arbiter, guys. Literally the old Arbiter. You're getting increased attack. You're getting a turn meter, a chance to remove a random buff, revive on all allies, and 25% HP. Then heals them by 25% HP more. And this will happen regardless if the allies are alive or dead. And you have a speed aura for arena battles, 23%. That's what I meant, the old Arbiter. Before Arbiter was in the game, because Arbiter is not a vanilla champion. She wasn't here on the release day. Gorgorab used to be the Arbiter of Raid, you know. And we have one final champion, guys, and that's going to be no one else but Tagar from the Orcs faction. With the A1, attacks an enemy, has a chance to place increased defense on the ally with the lowest HP. The A2 attacks all enemies, places increased speed buff on all allies, then heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP. I love when the healing, the shield is based off their own HP. Revives all dead allies with the A3, and places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. decreases the damage received by allies with 50% HP or less by 10%, and HP aura for all battles. Now, this is the 10x event for the Timot, the full fusion, guys. I feel like I prefer to have much better champions when we have fusions, because most of the people will summon anyway, so it's not like you're going directly for the 10x event. But I feel like the champions that we're having are fairly decent. The epics are actually pretty nice as revivers. Some of you guys might be struggling in faction wars, might be struggling with some content. You might need some revivers. It's actually a fairly decent 10x for revivers. That was all for this video. Much love. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.